Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaurata Vrinda.
Effect of having and the negative effect of not having faith. That is what is given in 31-32.
Yeah. Maybe we can just read 32 translation.
Okay. But those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, be fooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So Krishna is telling here what happens if one does not have faith, basically. So he tells us that those who out of envy abhyasu yantaha, so out of envy do not anutishtanti, say if they do not follow the injunctions, which is matam, then such people vimudhan, being bewildered, being befooled, everything is ruined actually. Nashtan, that is all ruined. Achetasaha means without Krishna consciousness, everything is ruined. So whatever endeavors they do, it's of no use actually. They try for perfection, but however, because of bewilderment, they are unable to achieve anything because there is no Krishna consciousness in that.
Thank you, Mataji. So what does it generally translates with? If we don't have faith in the instruction of Krishna or scriptures, then whatever we might do externally, will that work? We may externally look like a very nice devotee. We may speak of verses as well. We may seems to be following the principles. We seem to be going to temple and doing all those activities, but internally in the heart, we don't have faith in Krishna's instruction. So what will happen? Achetasaha. Our chitta, our consciousness is achetasaha, misdirected. So that Shraddha, which is given in the previous Shraddha Vantonu Suyanto, Yeme Matam Nidam Idyam. So the Shraddha is very, very important. So if we have that Shraddha, then the Gyan is success. Gyan, Krishna conscious Gyan, obviously, is success. Otherwise, it says Achetasaha, Viddhinashtam Achetasaha. Our Chitta is not situated in Gyan. Our external efforts will not take us back to Godhead. Although it's good to start with, but it's not good enough. Maharaj was saying it's very good, but it's not good enough. So we have to understand that Krishna clearly is saying, Sarva Dhyan Vibhudasa. You may have a lot of Dhyan, but we are still bewildered because you have Shraddha in material world. I think Vishnu Chakravarti was saying in one of his commentaries I was reading, he's saying the first principle of preaching is you should break the faith of the people in the material world. People have a lot of faith in the material world. I go to work, I get a lot of money. With the money, I can buy so many things. And with so many things, I'll be happy. They're all interrelated. You ask someone to work for 16 hours, if you pay him enough money, you'll be happy to work, generally speaking, isn't it? You do extra shift, you get double time and a half, and blah, blah, blah. So although we are having pain in our body, we're still ready to work. Why? Because work equates with artha, money. And money equates with artha and kama. So the kamas, our kama will be fulfilled with that artha. And with kama, we'll be happy. So happiness through sense gratification. Now that can be a religious sense gratification or irreligious, that's separate. But artha relates with kama. So when artha and kama is there, will we eventually happy? No. So we can make a show of being a religious person, but if our Shraddha is still in the material world, which most of us, in the half of boat, half Shraddha here, half Shraddha there. To start with, it's okay. But eventually we have to have, the Guru Maharaj said, both legs in the spiritual world. Your body can be in the material world, but your legs should be, your faith should be in the spiritual world. Then you will be able to drive your plane nicely. Otherwise, what will happen? It will drive and will go down, drive and go down, drive and go down. So the Shraddha is not there. Krishna is saying exactly, Nashtan Achetasaha. Everything is basically not worth it in the long run. It's a very nice verse. And these similar verses we'll read in future chapters as well. So it all comes down on Shraddha. Now, what this Shraddha is and how do we increase it? That's a discussion throughout the Bhagavad Gita and NOD as well, which we'll do later. Okay, 33. We have Rupam Prabhu in person as well as online. The two incarnations of Rupam Prabhu.
Even man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can he do? So this is one of the words where the should be strongly interpreted.
We can start from the verse itself and we'll come to that part which you're saying is correct. So if you go up, Prabhuji, so Sadhasam Chesta says Swasya. Chesta refers to Yatna Karna, endeavor, Swasyaha. So everyone does endeavor as per their nature. Good, bad, that's a different discussion, but everyone. And where does that come from? Prakriti. It's coming from the gunas. Gyanvan api, even Gyanvan. So we have Dhanvan, we have Vidwan, so we have Gyanvan. What does Gyanvan mean? Who's possessor of Gyan. Dhanvan means who's possessor of Dhan, wealth. Vidwan, Vid means knowledge. One who is a possessor of knowledge, he is Vidwan. Possessor of wealth is Dhanvan. Possessor of Gyan is Gyanvan. So Gyanvan, from material perspective, he is still doing chesta, endeavor, as per the nature. Now we come to the third line. You can continue. Sorry.
So I think everyone does the station based on the ability.
Yeah.
So there is no point in especially artificially, but this is wrongly understood by last time we discussed about with Krishna, something about Jesus, Vasana and Vasana is actually negative. That's or desires which you gratification. Whereas Vritti is your property, like we talk about four
Burdens. Yeah. You can say psychophysical nature.
Yeah.
The default, everyone has a sort of nature default in a positive sense. Like example. Yes.
He was his challenge. Ice cream or they are supposed to.
Yeah. Actually, another example I just remembered now when you say this Maharaj, his psychophysical nature mostly was actually of Brahmana. So, Vanvas. Yeah.
All four brothers were practicing
angry.
They're all preparing for war.
Yeah.
Whereas Vishnu Maharaj was actually reading.
So he was sort of a Kshatriya, but actually his psychophysical nature more of a Brahmana. He was very forgiving, very peaceful, Ajata Shatru. So Kshatriya body, but Brahmanical. Now you see Dronacharya, he was Brahman, he was doing a Brahmanical activity, still he acted as a Kshatriya. Ulta. We see in the case of Parashuram, born as Brahman, acted as Kshatriya. Vishwamitra, born as Kshatriya, later became a Brahman. And there's a full journey of that. So we can see the psychophysical nature, and everyone acts like, you take the example of Vishwamitra. He acted as a Brahman, when he again acted as a Kshatriya when Menaka came. A Brahman is not supposed to get agitated, but he got agitated. But then again, he realized, no, that's not good. I'm a Brahman, so come back. So there was a little bit of journey there. And then obviously he became very, very great sage. So we can say this. Nigra ke parashati. Okay, more Prabhuji. This word. Okay. So this word is this verse is misinterpreted by many organizations. Any examples we gave last week? I think someone, Manohan Prabhu was saying.
Pune Prabhu.
Pune. Will not name Pune. but there's organization in Pune. What do they say, Manmohan Prabhu? Just for the benefit of everyone.
So they're saying that like the vritti, they are using it wrongly. So I think we were talking about Brahman vritti, Kshatriya vritti. So the three modes. So we kind of, according to that, we acquire an order of the, life. Either we become Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. But they were talking about vritti means like, whatever the unwanted kind of desires or
Asana.
vasanas they have.
Vasana.
So what is the point of repressing those? Like just fully enjoy them,
Yeah.
unrestricted enjoyment, and eventually you will get bored, and then probably you will give up.
And that's how you'll become self-realized. That's their theory, which is not Bhagavad Gita is agreeing with. So they've just taken the words from Bhagavad Gita without the context, and that will be proved by Krishna himself in the next verse. The next verse he will say, we are not talking about anarthas, we are talking about the vritti. Vritti refers to Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Okay. Anything else we discussed last week? Okay, so let's keep vritti and vasana. Let's go to 34. Who is the next? Raghavi Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Would you like to do 34?
Sorry, Prabhu, I was not there in the last.
Okay, no problem. Madhuri Mataji, Hare Krishna. If you are available.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry, I am available, but
You're not there. Previous class.
last class I was not there, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Vijay Gupta is driving. Okay, let's come back to the first one. So with Sonia Mataji. Sonia Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Would you like
Prabhuji.
to do 34?
Yes, Prabhuji. And there are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So, Prabhuji, in this we are
Yes.
in this we are talking about controlling the senses and not getting attached by the senses, because if we get attached from the senses, then it will be like a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. So all the things like we mentioned, like eyes, took the examples of eyes, or we get attached when we look at things, and then we have raga, dvesha, all of these things, and jiva. So if we don't have control on that, and we just get carried away with the senses, that will be a block for us, stumbling block on the path of self-realization. And in the spiritual mode, we should try to control our senses, and then we can go into the spiritual mode.
Thank you, Mataji. You have described very nicely. I'll just pick up some Sanskrit words, which is exactly the same what you have explained. So Indriya is the first one, which is senses. Indriya Artha, sense object. So Artha means Arth kya hai? What's the business? What's the hetu? Huh? So Indriya Artha, sense object. That proves in the previous verse, Krishna is not talking about Indriya and Indriya Artha combination, sense and sense object combination, which is what the Pune ones are proposing. Huh? That clearly proves by Krishna in the next verse, we are not talking about vasanas. Vasana means there's senses and there's sense object. Your eyes want to see, your ear want to hear something, your tongue want to taste something. You're saying, okay, you taste as much as you like. Like it's giving, if you have diabetes, you go to a doctor, and doctor say you have diabetes, so patient will ask, so what should I do? So Dr. Prabhu will say, eat as many sweets as you like. Once you get bored, everything will be fine. Isn't it? So a diabetic person, all of us are diabetic. What is our disease? We are materially diseased. We are materially contaminated. And what these guys are saying, eat as much as you like. Means whatever sense gratification you want, do as much as possible. You're sick, get more sick, and then you'll be fine. What will be fine? So clearly, Indriya, Indriya Syate. And what is situated between Indriya, senses, and sense objects? Raga, Dvesha, Vyavasthita. Raga and Dvesha. What is Raga? Attachment. Dvesha is aversion. So generally speaking, we love something and we hate something. There's only generally two categories. Sometimes we are neutral, but mostly We like someone or we like some things, and we hate some things. We don't like someone. So Rag, Dvesha, Versa, so they are situated. Tayor, na vasham agachet. Na vasham means na vasha, control, no control. Do not come under their control. Why we should not come under their control? So he asse paripanthino. Paripanthino means stumbling blocks. If you come under their control, suppose you are going from here to North Sydney, and on the way somewhere, I don't know, the middle point is, Rukutu would know better, airport, huh? You start seeing the flights. Oh yeah, what a nice Singapore flights is better, Qantas flight is better. By the time you're watching all the flights, the class in temple is finished. Your purpose of going to temple is ruined. The Sunday feast is finished. By the time you reach temple, brahmacharis are locking the temple. So your purpose will be lost if you come under the control of these distractions. So raga and dvesha, they are like distractions, they are stumbling blocks. If you come under that, what will happen? We will not be able to reach to our destination correctly. The flight will be taking off without taking you. You're going to India, Vrindavan Dham Yatra with 5,000 other devotees, and you start seeing the sights on the way. Flight will leave on this time. So raga and dvesha are like that. They are stumbling blocks on our spiritual progress. Rasanand Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhu. One quick question. Like you said something like vasana means senses and sense object, or
Anarthas. Anarthas. So we have Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar, 6 anarthas. They are called vasanas. So they need to be regulated. Like Kam needs to be regulated.
I had an understanding that vasana means what are the impressions from the previous birth?
Yes, wrong impressions.
Wrong impressions.
Yes. So everyone will have, a certain amount of lust, certain amount of anger, some certain amount of greed. Just default, this Prabhu or Mataji will have, more greed. Their talks will be based on, say, money-minded. Some will be very angry. Someone may have other exposures of anarthas. They are called vasanas. So our vasanas needs to be regulated, and our vritti needs to be dovetailed. So there are two things. Vasana needs to be regulated. So Krishna is not saying quit everything. Quit in a religious way. So whatever religion allowed, you are allowed to have artha and kama, no problem. You can have your family, you can have some bank balance, you can have 3 cars, no problem with that. So they're not immediately rejected, but Krishna is saying start going within the religious framework, and then within religious framework you become more spiritual, and then slowly. So vritti needs to be dovetailed and vasana needs to be regulated.
So vritti is based on varna.
Varna, psychophysical nature, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And this is what Krishna is coming down to Arjun. Your vritti, your psychophysical nature is of Kshatriya. Don't try to behave like a Brahmana. So as soon as you run out of the battlefield, when they will start clapping, oh, Arjun, look at this Arjun, coward Arjun is running out of the battlefield, because when he saw our great army, he got scared. Immediately, Arjun will take up the sword. Immediately. And Krishna is saying, even if you go to jungle, see what a Brahman do. They go for Diksha, and while begging for the alms, many people, say very unpleasant words. And when a Kshatriya hears an unpleasant word, what will happen to a Kshatriya? He will take the sword out. You're asking Diksha, and then he will take your sword out. Dhruva Maharaj, same thing happened. Suruchi said something unpleasant. And Dhruva is like, I cannot take it. Narad said, you're just a 5-year-old boy. Just go and play with the toys. What is man and what is Apman? So what was the response of Dhruva? My blood is a Kshatriya blood. I cannot hear insulting words. That was Dhruva said. So Dhruva's vritti is Kshatriya. So everyone, Krishna maturely is trying to put in the path which they are comfortable with, but they still reach back to Godhead. We also, I think, spoke somewhere about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said, I'm neither a Brahman, nor a Kshatriya, nor a Vaishya, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a grahastha, but I'm Gopi Padakamriya, Dasanu Dasanu Dasa. I'm the servant of the Gopis. So that's where we are leading towards. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Ujjwala Mataji or Akhanda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, just quickly, I wanted to ask you, I don't know if I misunderstood last time. Did you mention about, like, we don't give in to the vasana, they need to be regulated? That's one thing. And then about the vritti, we follow our vritti. But then did you mention, I think you mentioned about rise above the vritti. Did you mention that
Yes.
in this context?
Yes, this is what we are talking about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So within your vritti, you have to rise above, like vritti of a grahastha. In a karma kandik level, yes, you can have your grahastha life, you can do your Agnihotra Yajna, you can go and worship Indra. That's fine. That is still under your vritti, that's still under religious realm. But is that what you're going to do always? No, you have to rise above. Like you have to go for vanaprastha, take a sannyas, finally speaking. And the sannyas for whom? Not for the society, for Krishna. So you have to rise above. As a grahastha, we are not just limited to our grahastha duties. What are we doing? We are doing Krishna conscious duties at the same time while we're doing grahastha duties, but we are trying to dovetail our grahastha duties under the umbrella of Krishna consciousness, so that while we are having our children, having our job, having our family, we do everything in a Krishna conscious way. It's much different than a karma kandi way. Okay?
So verse 33 talks about following the vritti, like you act according to what your vritti is. And the verse 34 is immediately the next verse is talking about how we should rise above and how we should be Krishna conscious. Is that correct?
So 34 is talking about how you should not come under vasana, rag and dvesha. They are anarthas, so you should not come under that. So try to control your vasana, because they will act as a stumbling block in your progress. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Okay. You can go to 35.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, just one.
Oh, yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, as you were saying, vasana usually it gets used in the negative manner, like all the anarthas, right?
Yeah.
So is there an equivalent word for, like, if there is something which you have acquired in one lifetime and that is getting forward carry forward in your next life, that's also some kind of a positive impressions. Is there another word for it? Or?
So Prabhuji, whatever impressions we receive, so vasana obviously, as you said, is a word, is a negative connotation. But whatever good impressions you have in your mind, whether it's of bhakti, whether it's of piety, whether you're speaking truthfulness and blah, 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 that gets carried over as well. So they are just impressions, Prabhuji.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, word I was looking. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's do verse 35. Yes, Mandara Mataji, were you there last class, Mataji? Okay, then I will not ask you. Maybe we'll. Priya Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
You were there in the last class?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, would you like to do 35?
Yes, I can try a little bit. Prabhuji, basically, so you want me to read the translation first?
Just, yeah. Mataji, we already covered this last week, so we're just revising.
Yeah, so it's the basic crux of this 3.35 is you should follow your own dharma. So basically Krishna is saying that it is the long-term benefit. So the swadharma is basically the benefit is to follow our own dharma. So like we are according to our own vritti. So Brahman should behave like a Brahman, Kshatriya should behave like a Kshatriya. So it is saying the viguna, so according the qualities, even though so we have those particular qualities, we should follow according to them. So even though following even if we do it faultly, so it's fault, so it is saying paradharma, even we're doing it with fault, we should still follow that duty basically, and we should not go, which is the paradharma, like we should not follow another dharma. So yeah, that's basically what it is saying. So basically follow your dharma and not other dharma, because ultimately if we follow the paradharma, it can be bhaya ava, which can be dangerous.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Just again, pick up some Sanskrit words. So Shreyan refers to Shreya and Preya. If anyone remembers.
Shreya is the run, Prabhuji,
Long
in
term
the long run,
Thank
and prayer is the short term.
Yes, thank you. So Shreyan Sudharmos, in the long term, so in the short term, it may feel like others' duties are easier than me. Let me follow others' duty. But in the long term, what will be Shreya? What will be greater benefit? Shreyan Swadharmo. Now here dharma refers to which dharma? Our vritti dharma. We are not talking about Hindu, Muslim here. We are talking vritti dharma here, and we are not talking about paradharma. Paradharma is devotional duties. We are not talking there. In this verse at least, Shreya Sudharma Viguna. Viguna refers to guna, refers to quality. Viguna refers to no quality. Vikar, transformation. So Shreya Sudharma Viguna par dharma so anusthita. So anusthita means you may feel like I'm very well situated in others' dharma. I'm a good fighter, although you may be a Brahman, but actually I'm a good fighter. But when you start fighting, then you know there are much greater fighters than you. So what will happen is Swadharma Nidhanam Shreya. Even if you die in Swadharma while following your Swadharma, is still it's Shreya. So Shreya word is used twice in this verse. So what we should be looking for always Shreya, not Preya. Preya may look good, but may not be very healthy. So it says now all the good looking things may not be healthy and all the healthy things may not look good. But devotees are very expert. They make things which are good looking and they are good health as well. Anyway, Swadharma Nidhanam Shreya par dharmo bhayavaha. Following others' dharma is very dangerous. So what is the misinterpretation of this verse? Do we remember? Par dharmo bhayavaha. I think we discussed this last week or we didn't discuss. I don't remember. Yes, that's one example. Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. So what's the misinterpretation of this verse? So we've just literally translated the verse. Misinterpretation of this verse is par dharmo bhayavaha. So in India, they're discussing about nigra kim karishati purivala. So we also have another sections in India. I've heard about it. They have taken this section of Bhagavad Gita, I should rather say this line of Bhagavad Gita, as the summary of Bhagavad Gita. There are many, how should I say, Hindus getting converted to Christianity in different parts of India. So Hindus have taken this slogan forward, saying par dharma bhayavaha, par dharma bhayavaha. You are following another's dharma. It is very bhayavaha, very dangerous. But when Krishna is speaking, I'm just talking from their terminology. When Krishna is speaking this verse, is Krishna talking about Hindu, Muslim, or Isai or Christianity or anything? That time, 5,000 years ago, these words didn't even exist. What to speak of Krishna favoring one religion and not, just forget it. But Krishna is speaking from a very different perspective than what they interpret as. Now they're using it for a good purpose, materially speaking. But the point is, this is not what Krishna is meaning. They are saying this is the gist of Bhagavad Gita. Par dharma bhayavaha. Is this the gist of Bhagavad Gita? What's the gist? As per our teachings, sarva dharmanu parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. As per our teachings, that's the gist of Bhagavad Gita, not this one. Par dharma bhayavaha. So you do not follow another's dharma. And this cannot be the gist of Bhagavad Gita at all. Why? Because we are not talking about the bodily dharma as a goal at all. We're talking about surrendering to Krishna, loving Krishna as a goal. So this bodily is, yes, Krishna is talking in Karma Yoga and saying, don't just change your vritti because you like something today. Tomorrow you may not like it. So they have also taken this. So different organizations have taken different parts of the Bhagavad Gita, whatever suits them. And we have Yog Shem Bahamiham in 9th chapter. That is also taken by LIC in India. So they are reading Bhagavad Gita, they're presenting Bhagavad Gita, but in a very different way what Krishna meant it to be. And that's why Krishna said, read this is Bhagavad Gita as it is. So as per this verse, what Krishna is meaning from Bhagavad has nothing to do with the external religion which you may follow. It may be Hindu. So Hindu word never exists in any Vedic book at all. It came only a few hundred years ago. It was made by actually some other parties. So that word is, so Hindus are the part of Sanatana Dharma, not the other way. People say, okay, you follow Bhagavad Gita, but I follow Ganesh Puran or something like that. It's actually other way. If you're following something else, you're not following Sanatana Dharma. You're following a part which you like. That's okay, but don't blame Sanatana Dharma. So this verse is also been taken in that way. Now, looking at this verse and the previous verse, which was saying, what was the crux of 334? Do not give in raga and dvesha. Do not give in your vasanas. Vasanas has to be controlled, restricted, regulated. Coming down to this line. So when you have controlled your vasanas, you're situated in your vritti. Now in vritti also you may have problem. In vasana we all have problem, right? We cannot control our lust, we cannot control our anger and greed and blah, blah, blah. But Krishna is saying, no, you have to stop that, right? Okay, then Arjuna says, but what about my vritti? Okay, I'm situated in my vritti as per dharma, but I'm not finding my vritti very easy. So I'll jump to another vritti. So Krishna is saying, paradharma bhayavaha. Now Arjuna has more question. What is the question of Arjuna? Let's read 336. We'll combine 335 and 36 again. So this is the first verse. You can ask Tanya Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So we'll read the Sanskrit and the translation.
All right, I'll try the Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Arjuna Vacha.
Arjuna Vacha.
Atha kena prayuktoyam.
Atha kena prayuktoyam.
Papam charati purusha.
Papam charati purushaha.
Anichanapi varshneya.
Anishan api varshneya.
Baladiva niyojita.
Baladiva niyojitaha.
Translation. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?
Thank you, Mataji. So here Arjuna is asking, okay, now we have vasana, okay, sort of done. We have understood the concept. But when we are in vritti also, we see, okay, let's talk about vasana first. When we are in vasana, we have all these anarthas with all of us. So Arjuna is saying many times we know what the dharma is, as you have explained. We have shraddha in that, but still there's a force inside which sort of impels us to do something wrong, which we know is not correct. Isn't it? All of us deal with that sort of situation. Many times we have knowledge, we have gyan. This is correct and this is not correct. But certain times we find ourselves helplessly doing certain things which we know they are wrong for us or for our spiritual life. Isn't it? That's the question of Arjuna. Let's read the words again. Atha kena pariktoyam. Manmohan Prabhu, sorry, I just saw your hand. Should we do this verse and then come back, or?
Yes, Prabhu, we can do this verse.
Yeah. Is it related to previous one, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, it was kind of related to previous verse only, but finish this one.
We'll do it, and I'm going to back to 35
Sure.
because they are interrelated, and then we can answer your question as well.
Okay, thank you.
Ath ken prayuktoyam. So atha refers to then. Ken prayuktoyam. Prayukta hona, engaged, to be engaged in. Still we are engaged in what? Papam charati. What does charna mean? Gaya charati, bhais charati. Papam charati. What does gaya charati? What does a gaya cow graze? Ghas. So what are human graze? Pap. What does it mean? Guys constantly on look of grass. Where's the green grass? What I can eat? This is an animal. She's an animal, but humans also looking for pap means gratification. Papam charati purusha. All of us, purusha. That not refers to only males, females as well. So all of us, charati, actually we live in by default. I'm saying by default. Papam charati purusha. What is that which engages us in pap? Anichha napi. So ichha and anichha. So ichha refers to we desire something. Anichha means we do not desire. Anichha napi. Even if we do not desire, Varshaya refers rest of the Vrishnis, Krishna. Balan Iva. So Iva word is very important. So one is EVA, which is certainly Iva. IVA refers to as if. As if. Balan refers to forcefully. Niyojita, engaged us. So basically what Arjuna is saying here, looks like Anichanapi, whether we do not desire, we don't want to do it, but still Baladiva, as if someone forcefully engaging us in where? Papam charati purusha. Forcefully. Inside, there's a force inside. You know what is right, what is wrong. Every one of us, we've been in ISKCON for so long, we know a lot of things now. So it's not we are Jnani. We have Jnana, we have knowledge, at least in many situations. But still there's a force inside. What is that force, Krishna? Please explain me, because that impulses. Now, our acharyas have explained this word anichan a lot. So ichha, so when you have ichha to do certain good things, you want to do a yajna in your house, you want to do graha pravesh in your house, you want to leave your house, you do a ichha, you plan your house, you do so many plans, you want to build a house, that's fine, and you do that. But many times you don't want to do something, but you still have to do it. Are you comfortable with that? In movies, you will see, one actor got framed by some, gundas. He had to do something wrong, and then you feel angry at these gundas, huh? My hero is so nice. So here, who is the hero? Ourselves is the hero. We are our own little nice baby for ourselves. For others may not be, others may hate you. We love ourselves. But even we, our little baby inside us, does many times these wrong things. We say sometimes some things which we say, I shouldn't have said. Huh? It was too much. It's okay. Huh? I should be more forgiving to that person or to that situation. Sometimes we express our greed in a different way. Sometimes we express our lust. Again, lust does not have to be male-female attraction. It can be, Jananda Maharaj was giving a class, he was saying, we can be lusty for a pakoda. Maharaj said that. What does it mean, lusty for a pakoda? That means we want to enjoy the pakoda without offering to Krishna. We can be lusty to smell a flower. When as soon as you get a nice flower, you should offer it to Krishna. And then you can take the prasad of Krishna. If deities are not there, at least in your mind you offer, oh Krishna, such a nice flower for you. Gajendra picked up the flower and he offered to Krishna. He was eating the bear, but her point was, intention was to offer nice things to the Lord. So actually she did not taste for sense gratification, she tasted for the service. That is allowed. Now we can't do that in the kitchen. Prabhu, I am also following the footsteps of Shabri. Let's follow other footsteps as well. But some devotees, I heard they do it. I'm talking current society. I heard one lecture in Goranga Prabhu, if I'm not wrong, or somewhere else, I can't remember. And he explained a devotee got honey for Lord Nrsimhadev in Mayapur. Mataji is coming from Mayapur or close to Mayapur. So he got honey for Nrsimhadev, and he asked Pankajangarahi Prabhu to offer. Everyone knows that those two famous pujaris, one left this planet. And he said, Prabhu, could you please offer this honey for Lord Nrsimhadev? I got it from somewhere. So as soon as Prabhu saw that, he said, this is not real honey, not very offerable for the Lord. He said, no, Prabhuji, I've got from such and such place and it's very nice honey, please offer. He said, okay, what? He went behind the scene, he tasted the honey. And he said, it's not honey, you can taste it. So Pankajangari Prabhu, he knew it, this is not honey, not a real honey, not offerable for the Lord, basically. That's what it was, fake honey. And this devotee was standing and he tasted later, actually, it was not the real honey. So these guys he could still offer and offer to the Lord later on because his consciousness is very different. Huh? We can't do that at this stage. But technically you can. Why? Because when you offer something to your child, you taste it. Doodh bahut garam to nahi hai. The milk is not too hot, you taste it. For your son or daughter, huh? If the sabji has a lot of milk, so technically you do that. But for Krishna at this stage, because we are contaminated, we can't do it. Anyway, come back to this point. So Anish, many times we know what is right and what is wrong, but there's a passion inside us. So Arjun is saying, what is that? Where does it come from? What types of passion is that? And how do we deal with it? So now the next section, which we're going to start here from 337 till 343, next 7 verses, Krishna will answer this question of Arjuna. What is this? Where does it come from and how to deal with it? That's the question of Arjuna. And why Arjuna is asking this question? Because in the previous verse, what did we say? 335? Go back to 335. So when Krishna is saying, be situated in your dharma. So he's saying, I'm situated in my dharma, but I'm still struggling. Does that make sense? So we are trying to situate ourselves in our dharma, whatever our duties are, prescribed duties are, but we struggle. So our acharyas have explained this section from 36 to 43 as one of the most important sections of Bhagavad Gita, which deals with the practical reality of life. That's why it's very important for all of us. So let's read. Manmohan Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Just regarding that Vratti, so we have also acquired certain qualities according to modes of nature, and we are kind of switching our roles in Krishna consciousness as well. Sometimes we are, doing the Brahmanical duties, sometimes we are cleaning cooking, all those. So they all fall into different categories of, that vritti. So we're not switching between different deities. Like, I mean, how does it kind of, apply in Krishna consciousness, that same principle?
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. If I understood your question correctly, so basically Prabhu is asking in Krishna consciousness, we change our vritti, or we adopt so many services which require different psychophysical nature. Sometimes we are involved in cooking for Krishna, sometimes we are speaking about Krishna, sometimes we are doing help in the kitchen, for example, for Krishna. So Prabhupada actually answered that question, Prabhu. When you come in a devotional realm, everything is on absolute platform. Here in the devotional realm, Prabhupada said, even if you're cleaning bathroom, it's exactly same as you're doing a duty of a pujari. A pujari should not think, I'm a Brahmin, I'm greater than this person who's cleaning the temple bathroom, because that bathroom, temple bathroom, is also part of the same temple where Krishna resides. Every single, you can say, a brick of that temple belongs to say Radha Gopinath. And Radha Gopinath is the owner of that. So whatever service you perform, whether it's a so-called a small service or so-called a big service, it's everything as Prabhupada is on absolute platform. So we have only one vritti. Our vritti is Das of Krishna, servant of Krishna. So when we have that sort of consciousness, when we perform whatever service is given to you by your seniors, with that vritti, you are situated on the perfect platform. See, vritti, in general speaking, is only made for Chaturvarnya Maya system. 430, we're going to read it. Krishna is created because we have a particular psychophysical nature. Like you may like, for example, reading more books. Someone may not be interested in reading so many books, but he still may be a very nice devotee. A devotee's definition is not as per Krishna. You have to be very much jnani. You have to have, Bhakti Shastri certificate, Bhakti Vaibhav certificate. No, Krishna doesn't demand for that. But so why are we doing all this? Because this is anukul, favorable for developing our relationship with Krishna. Through reading the mind of Krishna, reading the heart of Krishna, through reading the journey of different devotees in Krishna consciousness, we get inspired to become a better devotee. So from that perspective, we are reading. We are not reading for any other perspective, not as just being a Brahman. Prabhupada, although did mention Krishna conscious movement has converted this gross of the world to Brahmanas. Because when you are situated on a Brahmanical platform, in a platform of goodness, practicing bhakti is much easier than you being situated in a Shudra platform, which a definition, according to definition, is who has uncontrolled senses. So if your senses are uncontrolled most of the time, can you practice Krishna consciousness nicely? One day you're chanting, 16 rounds, another day 0 round. Today you get up at 11 o'clock, next day you get up at 5 o'clock. Today you may have some Pyaj lesson in your Amashudra, uncontrolled. Huh? So if you're situated in mode of goodness in a Brahmanical platform, you take proper baths, you're clean from your body as much as possible, clean in your mind, you're clean in your habits. Practicing devotion is much easier. Is that okay?
Sure.
So
thank you.
In devotion, our vritti is only one: servant of Krishna, servant of our seniors, servant of our Guru. Maharishi Goswami Maharaj said, a disciple should only breathe when Guru allows. So that is our vritti. We are the Das of Guru, Das of our senior devotees. Outside it, yes, vritti is important. Is that okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was just wanting to clarify. So when you said I just want to also, like Prabhuji said, they're doing different things, but they're all related to Krishna consciousness. So that means done in the absolute platform. So in that case, so sometimes I've seen in like families, like sometimes what happens is, but not all the time, but yeah, we have like say the Prabhu is like staying home and looking after the children, and then working outside, and sometimes they switch those roles. So is that something not really, like they are changing, they are kind of not doing their duty, or that's not really like
so
that's
ideally,
for helping Krishna, helping one still attain a Krishna conscious state and like, being still in the absolute platform. Is that still?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as much as I understand, Mataji, sometimes we have to switch our roles, maybe male, female roles, or maybe friends role or whatever needed. Radhanath Maharaj gave a very simple answer, again, without going to detail of individual's life, because everyone's life is different. But as a principle, Radhanath Maharaj said, whatever helps you to become a better devotee. In that particular situation, I may be needed to do other person's duty. That's fine. If that person needs my help in that particular situation, I will switch over my role. There's no problem with that. As for Bhakti Shastri Maharaj, actually, he gave a little different answer. Again, it should be looked into different life, and then a decision can be taken. Again, the principle. Maharaj is a very Vedic Maharaj, so he said, as much as possible, we should try to follow the Vedic culture, which means, as per Maharaj, Bhakti Shastri Maharaj, so Mataji stay home, they look after the kids and the family, and Prabhuji goes out and work, because this is more aligned with their own psychophysical nature. Again, as a general principle. Now, what will apply in individual's role, that has to be looked individually. Is it okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. So they are still following their
Sorry, I think
their dharma, their vritti, like they are still following, if they are doing it to please Krishna.
Yes, so as much as possible, we try to follow the Vedic culture. But again, if the roles needs to be switched, someone else needs help, we are available for that help. No service is small, or no service is, oh, it's not for me. No, that's the need of the service. My seniors are engaging me in that service, and this is where my surrender should be, where I'm able to switch on and off anytime as per the desire of my spiritual master. Otherwise, I'm not a surrendered devotee. I only like to do what I like to do. I will like to be a pujari only, because that's a Brahmanical services. I can't go in the kitchen and help Prabhuji in cutting vegetables. That's a low-level service. Actually, if you have that consciousness, you are a very low-level devotee, a Kanishta Adhikari as per Bhagavatam, because you're only looking Krishna in the deity. You're not looking Krishna in the devotees and in the relations. You're only looking Krishna in one statue. So actually, you're a Kanishta Adhikari as per Bhagavatam. When you look Krishna everywhere, you look in Krishna's devotee, you look in Krishna in the services. Every service is for Krishna's glorification. Cutting vegetables is the same as worshipping the deity in the altar. But again, I may not be well trained to do the arati. That's a different situation. I may not be well to cut the vegetable. That's different, right? But I should be ready to adopt myself for any service which is needed by Krishna and coming from my spiritual master. Is it okay?
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Because we are the souls. We are not male or female in that sense at all. Whatever is needed, our Guru will tell us. Okay, thank you, Mata. Sonia Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the same verse, when we are discussing on the verse 35, Prabhupada clearly states here that on the transcendent, on the material mode, this we should follow one's vritti, but on the transcendental mode, on the being a Krishna consciousness, we can act, Kshatriya can act as a Brahmana, and Brahmana can act as a Kshatriya. And similarly, so for the Krishna conscious person, we can do any activity. So we are free. Prabhupada has given us leverage for that.
Jai, thank you, Mataji. Perfect.
Yeah.
Prabhupada said my followers should be like lawyers who can quote my books anytime, anywhere. So Mataji quoted SP 335. Prabhupada said that. Thank you, Mata. Very nice.
And just one thing, on the same note, Prabhuji, I wanted to clarify. So for Krishna conscious person, it is okay. But for the person with the same Priya Mataji's example, if the husband and the wife is like switching their roles, for a devotee, it is fine. But for a person who is not a devotee, so what happens to that person, Prabhuji? So what is, if they are not behaving as per their own vritti and they are not Krishna conscious, then
basically a simple answer is material bondage. That's all.
okay.
What type of bondage and how complex that is. They are in the material bondage. Simple as that.
Okay.
A Krishna conscious person is out of it. Again, not immaturely though. You cannot come out of your duties immaturely. And that's why we need a spiritual master to guide us. He will tell us how free you are. How free you are. A cow, it says, Baldev Dabhushan talks about a cow being tied to a rope. Said rope is 2 meters long. So cow is free, but they're in 2-meter periphery. So we're also free. But what is our periphery? We don't know. That will be defined by our guru based on our devotional advancement. Advanced person is free, actually, he is really free. But when you are on the journey, there's some freeness given, but that is also within a realm. So we have to follow our duties within that realm. What is favorable for advancing us and advancing others as well. And then based on instruction, then we can be more free or less free. My guru may say, no, you go back, do this like that. I have to go back. I should not think I'm advanced, I'm Krishna conscious, I know this and that, so I'm free not to do this worldly duty. No, you got to do it. Your guru will decide that how free you are. But yeah, we are on the path of being free from material, normal material being. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next one. So we understand the question of Arjun, and let's see response of Krishna. 337. Madhuri Mataji, would you like to do this one?
Yes, Prabhu. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kamayesha Krodayesha.
Kamayesha Krodayesha.
Rajo Guna Samudbhava.
Rajo Guna Samudbhava.
Mahasano Mahapapa.
Mahasano
Papma.
Mahapapa.
Vidyayenam Iha Vairinam.
Vidyayenam Iha Vairinam.
Translation. Prabhu, I'm not able to see the translation.
Yes, it's just coming.
Yes. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion, and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world."
Thank you, Mataji. So now Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So what Krishna is saying, Kama Esha Krodha Esha. So what is the first word Krishna is using in this word? Kam. So Kam Prabhupada translates as lust. So let's see what Krishna says in the rest of the verse. Kama Esha Krodha Esha. So when Kama in simple translation, Kam is desire. Kamna. Kam is Kamna. Now Kamna can be of multiple degrees, a small Kamna or a big Kamna. So Kama Esha Krodha Esha. And when Kamana, when desire is not fulfilled, what you become angry? Because if I want to get a toy, a ball, or a truck, a little boy, you don't give the ball to that boy. What you will do? You want a lighting toy, and you don't give that lighting toy to the boy. What you will do? Papa, you are not very good, Papa. Mama, you are not very good, because he wanted that toy and you are not giving that toy to the boy. So Kama Esha Krodesh, and it's just not applied to the toy, it applies to adults as well in a different way. Their Kama is $5 Kama, our Kama is 5 million Kama, bigger Kama. But principle is exactly the same. Kam Esha Krodesh. Rajo, where does it come from? Rajo Guna Samadva. So we clearly understand Rajo is the mode of passion, Samadva. It comes out in the, when we come in contact with mode of passion, the Kamna gets generated. Now, what this passion is and all that will read later in 14th chapter, just a little glimpse here. What is this? Mahashano. This Kam is Maha-Ashno. So Ashnami, anyone remembers the word Ashnami from another famous verse of Bhagavad Gita? Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yo Me Bhaktya Prayachati Tat Aham Bhakti Upaharatam Ashnami. Ashnami. Prayatatmanaha. What does Ashnami mean? I accept. I eat. Generally you say, I eat. Krishna eats. Yes, Krishna does eat. Mahashno. Mahashno means great eater. So, Ashnami means khana. Eating, accepting. Mahashno. So Prabhupada writes the great devouring. You see, all devouring. Mahashno. It's not a different word. Same word. Maha is added there. Mahashno. Mahapapma. Greatly sinful. So what is this lust? All devouring. It can eat you all up. Just can eat you all up. Mahashno Mahapapma. Vidhi. Vidhi refers to Vidhi. Vid. Ved. Mouth. know this enam, this one, iha refers to this word. Read this word again and again. Iha. Veridam, everyone knows. Dushman, enemy. So let's read proper translation again. It is lust only, Arjun, which is born, Rajoguna Samudbhav, born of the contact and material mode of passion, and later transformed into wrath. So, which is the first line, Krodha Esha, and which is all devouring. What's the word all devouring covered? Mahashlo. All devouring, sinful enemy, sinful, Mahapapma, enemy, Varinam. Vidhi to know. So you should know this, which is born later on. So which is all devouring, sinful enemy of this world. So what is the response? What was the question of Arjuna? Where does this force inside comes from, which feels like Anichanapi Vashnaya? I don't do any ichha, but still I am helplessly doing that. So first thing, let's clarify what is this anicca. So anicca and balad iva. You remember the word iva? Iva is very as if. Now it's not someone forcing you. If alcoholic wants to drink alcohol, for example, so what happens? He takes a commitment. He takes a vow. No more alcohol in my life ever, ever. What happens after a few hours? He thinks about, say, alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be. He goes to the fridge, for example, and he opens and he. Now it's not bottle has developed, hands and legs, and bottle opens the fridge door. It flies there. You're sitting on the sofa and bottle opens your mouth and goes inside. That is called balad. Balad. But balad iva means as if balad. It's not balad. So that means we always have a room to express our real desire. We always have a room, but we feel like we are becoming helpless. So alcoholic feel like, the chain smoker feel like, I have to have another smoke. I have to have another smoke. I think someone was saying in some class, I have quit cigarette, 20,000 times, but cigarette is not quitting me. I have quit cigarette 20,000 times, but cigarette is not quitting me. What does it mean? Cigarette doesn't force you to, okay, come and smoke me. Your desire is very, very big. So anishapi should be taken as, initially we have ichha of doing the right thing and aniccha of not doing the wrong thing. But later on, this aniccha becomes ichha. We accept it. Yes, I am going to smoke another cigarette, for example. So I go open the packet, lit up my lighter or matches, whatever, and I smoke bidi or cigarette. That's what I'm coming down to. So when we have to understand this anicca, which Arjun is using the word, it's not a real anicca. In the beginning, it is anicca. I quit alcohol or meat or whatever today, forever. But then anicca does become into ichha. Now, how the conversion happens? Because of the lust. Because we have deeply rooted vasana in our heart, lust in our heart, which needs to be fulfilled. That's what we feel. It's not important. You can always say no. Again, so many vasanas are there in the material world. You can always say no. They say, "What? Shop till you drop." No, so no one is forcing you to shop. You have that. Some people I've heard. I don't know how they have this, but they have it. They are spending on their own credit card, but they drop. They just keep tapping till the time that says declined. No more. $20,000, whatever it is, you have already spent $20,000. No more. And they're like, "Arey, khatam ho gaya." So at one stage, aniccha becomes ichha. So you accept it, you act on it. No one else from external perspective forcing you. It's your own ichha which accepts. Actually, it's all right. We look at the logic tomorrow. Today, let me drink. Let me smoke. Let me do this or that, whatever it is. So where does it come from? Lust. And where does lust come from? When you come in contact with passion. So, and what does it do? What's the result of that? Mahashanu. That is very, very important. Lust can eat you all up, which means if your senses are unregulated, example of say drinking alcohol, you will not even survive. You may even die. You may drink so much alcohol, for example, you will even die. And that principle can be applied for male-female attraction and so many other things. If you don't control yourself, you will eventually end up in a very bad situation. Even you have to leave your body. You can go up to that extent. So is it Mahashano? Understand the meaning of Mahashano? It can devour you just because you could not control that desire. We talk about one example of AIDS, for example. No one is forcing that. People are, with their desire, indulging themselves in certain activity, which is dangerous for them. And eventually, they actually leave because of that disease. Mahashano, Mahapapma. And even if you say, someone was saying, you should not smoke cigarette. It's a live example I heard from somewhere. And he said, but smoking cigarette is all right. I've been smoking for 40 years. Nothing happened to me. So Mahapapma. What happens? Later you'll get the reaction. You may not get it today. Even if you don't worry about spiritual reactions, karmically, after 40 years, you may have lung cancer. It takes time. Some people get lung cancer at the age of 25. Some people get at the age of 65. Even if you don't get the age of 65, later you'll get reaction. Mahapapma. So you cannot say, I'm out of this. I've done it. No one has seen it. I'm clean, all clean. No. Mahapapma. So how do you describe this sort of person? Varinam. It's an enemy. It's an enemy, isn't it? It's forcing you, sort of forcing you to act in a direction which is not favorable for you. So it's an enemy, isn't it? So let's read about this enemy. Now Krishna will first, so Krishna has given the answer in short. Now Krishna will expand this answer. How many types of enemies are there? Where does this enemy sit, and how should you deal with this enemy? Okay. Mother, you had a question or something?
I was thinking, like at home, when kids put some Bollywood movie, they're not watching us, but in the living room, if the TV is on, we also sit down and started watching. Isn't it also lust and it is
passion? Yeah, yes. Passion. It comes out of passion. Now, you should understand, I'm sure you would know, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Passion is when we are not hurting anyone, like physical hurting. We're not killing animals or, stealing someone's property. Trying to show up and trying to feel relaxed, enjoy. Chill out. In movies like that, cricket match or something, you're not hurting anyone, but oh wow, what a ball! What a shot! What a shot! Thank you, Prabhu. What a shot! We have a sort of sense gratification there, isn't it? That's why, and I've gone closer to this particular cricket star, for example. He was just passing next to me, I got signature as well. So it's called mode of passion. So movies are also example of mode of passion. Actually, small male-female things will be given more in chapter 14. That's also mode of passion. It's not mode of, many times we think it's a mode of, actually it's mode of passion, which gets converted into mode of ignorance. Because when the passion is not satisfied, what happened? Initially, you propose and then you kill. The proposal is not accepted, and you have seen in the Hindi movies as well. Someone proposes and some party doesn't accept. What happens? It gets converted into wrath, anger. You did not accept me, now I'll kill you. What was that? You accept or reject, that's fine, but you accept or kill. It happens. So many brutal violence happens just because of that. People's lust is not satisfied in different ways, and they react in so brutal ways you cannot imagine, just because their lust was not satisfied. So, yes. Krishna will tell it. Let Krishna say, and we can discuss based on the verses. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Prabhu, somehow maybe I missed it. The 35, how it leads to 36, you said Swadharma, Lord says to do the prescribed duty even though it is partly done. But how that leads to Arjuna's next question, I didn't understand.
So it's not just the 35, Prabhu, it's the previous verses where knowledge is given to Arjun. It's 35 as well as the previous, where knowledge is given to Arjun, but Arjun is talking a very practical question. Although I may be knowledgeable, but still many times I feel I don't want to do it, but I still do it. What is that inside me which is forcing me, as if forcing me to do that wrong thing? So
wrong thing is not Swadharma. You want to do something.
So within Swadharma, we have Vasana as well, right? So Brahman can also have Vasana, Kshatriya can also have Vasana, right? So Vasanas needs to be dealt in a dharmic way, in a religious way. But many times, this is irreligious, you still act on your Vasana. Is it correct? Many times you understand, I should not get angry, I should not get lusty, I should not be greedy. but you still act. So Arjuna is saying, what is that which forces me to do that papam chariti purushaha?
Okay. Okay, bro.
Not making
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, got it, bro. So it can
We're talking
happen
about
it can happen outside Swadharma also, no? This particular question, it's not related to that.
Yes, Prabhuji. That lust can be for anything. Lust itself has to be curbed. But that lust can be for anything, anytime. And lust will not see. Brahman, your lust only allows you to go till this extent. Kshatriya, you can have 60,000 wives. No, not like that. So what it will go to, we don't know. And that's why Krishna will tell in future verses, you should curb this lust in the very beginning.
Okay.
So anarthas do not see the lines. We have to see our lines. And that's why we have to curb these anarthas as soon as possible. That's what Krishna will tell.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So even who is situated in a Brahmanical position, so they can also have passion and they do all this what Lord says, Kamesha, Krodesha. That is applicable to person who is in mode of goodness also.
Definitely, Prabhuji, definitely. Every soul in the material world is struggling with these anarthas, and that's our basic problem. Not that Brahman has it, Brahman only has, Kshatriya has it, Shudra has it, everyone has it. The degree varies. So Shastra is telling, based on your Varna, you can do certain things like Kshatriya is allowed to get married to many wives, for example. But at the same time, if they keep marrying wives, will they achieve even the moksha, what we speak of Krishna Prema? That's the point. So allowance is given, but that allowance is still given in a dharmic framework. So you're not marrying multiple wives just for the sense gratification. There should be higher purpose to that. So Kshatriya passion is more, Brahman passion is very less. Kshatriya will be expressing his passion in a different way than a Brahman, than a Vaishya, than a Shudra. Shudra is allowed to eat even meat as well. So it's allowed, actually, it's allowed. You are able to eat. But is that what gives you the best perfection? No. Manusmriti says, Manusmriti, I've heard it in a lecture of Shripalad Prabhu is saying meat eating is allowed by a Shudra. But, and it also explains when you should eat, what sort of meat you should eat. But eventually, at the end of that chapter, Manu Maharaj writes it, it's best if you do not eat meat. Shripalad Prabhu was saying, it's best, it's allowed. And then it explains the consequences of eating meat. So you're allowed, Kshatriya, you're allowed having multiple wives. Just take example of, say, Dasharatha Maharaj had 300 queens, 3 principal queens, obviously. What happened? We know the story. Yayati Maharaj, Devyani and Sharmishta, 2 queens, was allowed. What happened? We know so many complications happened, so many. Chitraketu Maharaj, 60,000 wives. You know what happened? So anytime we see these things, we come down, life, simple life is much better, much better.
Okay.
So
one more question. Yeah, one more question is relating to this Swadharma. Like I just had, if you follow this Swadharma, for example, I am Shudra for my mental psychophysical nature. Okay, then if you see the example of Mahabharata, like Karna, by nature, psychophysical nature, he was Kshatriya. So, but he was humiliated by Arjuna and others saying you are a Sutputra, and that can happen to us also. For example, if that's the reason, in India, people want to move up the ladder. Like, even they are born Shudra, they want to do some good job or move up and do something different than their nature and make money. So I just want to know, how do we see it in today's world, actually, if we want to do as per our Swadharma. So the world may, coin us in certain way and maybe become inferior or whatever. I don't know. You got my question.
No, I think got it. So I'll answer from Mahabharata and as Prabhupada. As per Mahabharata, Yudhishthira Maharaj said 5,000 years ago, it's about 5, there are many Varna Sankaras in the society. That's what Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying 5,000 years ago. So you can imagine. Prabhupada said, we are not in the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, any clear situation. We keep changing our position. So, and Prabhupada answered, this is the problem. We keep changing. Sometimes we are Brahman, very nice and clean. Sometimes we are Kshatriya, passionate. Sometimes we are Shudra, or many times we are Shudra. Kala Shudra Sambhavaha. Everyone in Kali Yuga is born as Shudra. That's Shastric statement. Prabhupada said, but once you become devotee, again, your Varna changes, your Gotra changes to Achyuta Gotra. Huh? So basically, our real identification should be as a soul, not as a Brahma, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. It's not important because we are trying to become devotee of the Lord. So we are part and parcel. We are das of Krishna. We are servant of Krishna, and we are just trying to invent our that identity which is already there, which is lost. So we don't have to worry about all this. What is our nature? Are we Brahman? Are we Kshatriya? We are none actually. We are all mixed up. We keep changing. We can't be like a Bhishma Pitama Yudhishthira throughout our life. We can't be. We change, 3,000 times a day. So, and there is no need to correct it because that's not the purpose. Eventually, you're not trying to become Brahman or a Vaishya or a Shudra. Eventually, you're trying to become a good devotee in this life as soon as possible. This is all covering. Once you leave the body, a Brahman can become a Shudra, a Brahman can become a deer, or a deer can become a Brahman. So these all things are very insignificant for a devotee who has started his journey sincerely. Okay?
Okay, bro.
Yeah. We are trying to achieve a very short-term degree. No need for that. We are on a very, very higher plane. We are flying in the aeroplane with a 10,000 miles per hour speed. Why are we talking about this Maruti car? We are on a white Maruti car. He's in the Mercedes Benz. Whatever, you're on the plane. Prabhupada is taking all of us in that plane to Vaikuntha Loka. All of us going. Now, if we drop out with a parachute, that's different. Just stay on the plane, chant Hare Krishna, serve our Guru Maharaj. We will be in Vaikuntha Loka soon. Soon. That soon maybe, 10, 20 lifetimes. That doesn't matter. But don't think about this Maruti car and scooter and Mercedes Benz. Think high. Prabhupada said, simple living, high thinking. Our high thinking is Krishna. That's our limit. There's nothing else. Everything else is temporary. We just do what is needed to be done and move on. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice question. Okay, next one. This is the next one. 338. Who has not done as yet? 337? 337? Okay, let's move. Whenever we want to do? 38. Whatever the next one is. 38. Okay, 38. धूमेन गृह्यते वह्निर् यथा दर्शो मलेन च यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भः तथा तेनेदम् आवृतम्.
Translation: as fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embroid is covered by the foam. The living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of the lust.
So now Krishna is explaining the different degrees of lust which applies to different beings. So Krishna here is giving 3 examples. So the first one, Dhumena Briyate Vahani. So Vahani refers to Agni, fire. So Dhum refers to Dhua, which is smoke. So fire is always covered with the smoke, isn't it? Avrate refers to covering. So fire is always covered with the smoke. But how much smoke covers the fire? It's very thin. You can see the fire. And sometimes, in the villages, when they're using the fire for cooking, there's a lot of smoke, not much Agni. What they do? They blow at the right spot and Agni comes out. Fire comes out, if you know how to do it. Otherwise, you go in your eye, you start crying. So, Dhumena Brite Vahani. So, Vahani, Anal, Agni, fire is covered by Dhuma. Let's read the word-to-word translation. We'll come to what it means. So, Dhumena Brite Vahani. Yatha Adarsho Manena Cha. Yatha, second example Krishna is giving. Adarsho. Adarsho refers to, so Darsh refers to see. Adarsh refers to see back, which is a mirror. Adarsh. There's many people have named Adarsh, ideal. So it's a seeing back. Malin, Mal. Mal refers to contamination. Here it can refers to, say, dust. So a mirror covered by dust. Sometimes dust may be so much you may not even know that there's a mirror. It's a small mirror lying in your backyard for a long time. So much dust and other things that you will not even know that there's a mirror there. but still you can go and clean up the dust and still be able to see in the mirror. Third analogy, yatha, third, ulbena abrato garbhas. Ulbena refers to womb. Mother's womb is known as ulbena in Sanskrit. Avrata again is covered, same word is used. Garbha refers to the embryo. So a small baby living inside the mother's womb is covered by a thick layer of womb because the baby is very, very soft and fragile. So Krishna has arranged a very thick covering. No matter, I would not say no matter, but many mothers' womb can take many things, many aghat, many jars it can take, and Shishu baby will still be safe and sound. I've heard there's a liquid there. What do you call that liquid? Amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid. So it's there. So that protects the baby. It's like a shock absorber. So even if the womb moves, the baby is not hurt because it's in a liquidic situation. So it moves, doesn't get hurt. So much shock absorbing liquid he has. So tatha, similarly, tene idam avratam. So tene refers to the living entity, idam avratam. So this lust covers the living entity in three ways. So what is the first way? Dhume na vrete mahadir. So first way is fire and smoke. So fire and smoke, Prabhupada writes in the purport here, is compared to humans being covered with the lust. So humans covered with the lust means human can be uncovered with the lust with a little knowledge, little training, little inspiration. Many people become devotees very quickly. They come in contact with Bhagavad Gita or devotees or some program, and they become devotees very quickly. They don't have too many questions. Prabhuji is sitting, fatafat. Sonia Mataji and Sumitra, one example, and then can be many more. So people come in contact and very quickly, they're just not aware of the other aspect of life, and that makes sense. That we pick up very seriously and sincerely. Second example, Yathana Shumarencha refers to the animal consciousness. Animal consciousness, animal can still move, but you see a guy. Now, animal is not going to become a devotee, but the covering of the lust is thicker, but it's still penetrable. After 1 or 2 lives, it says a cow will become a human next life. Very close, very, very close. Third, Yathol Bena Vrto Garbhas. Third analogy is given for plants. Plants are covered very, very thick by lust. That means their consciousness is very, very low. Can you imagine in a normal way of evolution, plant becoming a human will take long time than an animal becoming a human. Says horse. I think some people say horse is the previous birth of cow and cow is the previous birth of human. So horse is also like next door. So Krishna gives these 3 examples to make Arjuna understand what type of people, I should say, what type of beings are covered with different degrees of lust. So human are actually on the top one, which means human can become devotee or come to their senses, actual senses, very, very quickly. Now some don't because of too much passion and ignorance, but this is our situation. We are almost at the door. If we do little work for 50 years or 60 years for Krishna, we can go back to Godhead very, very quickly. The things make sense. Let's go to the next one, 39. Who has not done as yet? Mohit Prabhu is there. Hare Krishna. Not sure. Okay, I can see Vijay Gopi Mataji. Hare Krishna. Welcome back.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Avritam jnanametena.
Avritam jnanametena.
Nanino nitya vairina.
Yanino nitya vairina.
Kamarupena kaunteya.
Kamarupena kaunteya.
Dushprunena analina cha.
Dushpurena analina cha.
Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire.
Thank you. So now Krishna has explained different degrees of lust. Now he's saying, what harm it does to the living entity? What harm it does? Avritam jnana metena. So jnana metena, jnana refers to the knowledge. Avritam refers to the cover. It covers the jnana of the jnanino. So he's not talking about a person who has no knowledge. He's saying a person who has knowledge, jnanino, jnanavan. Avritam uska bhi jnana cover कर लेती है. So even a person who is very ज्ञानी, उसका. Now who is a ज्ञानी? Are we ज्ञानी? Actually, as per this verse, everyone is a Jnani. Soul in their original constitutional position is Jnani, isn't it? Soul knows what is my relation with the Lord. Now, in this situation, soul has forgotten. We are covered with different degrees of lust and other anarthas. But originally, soul is Jnani. And what is that Jnana? I am the part and parcel of Krishna, and my duty is to serve Krishna, to harmonize with Krishna. So, Avratam Jnana Mete. So, the soul, which may be in the plant body, in an animal body, in a human body, is Jnani, but that Jnana is covered by different degrees. So, it's saying a soul in the plant body, the covering is very, very thick. Soul in the animal body, covering is thicker than the human, and human body, just the light covering is there. Now you can act as per the light covering, or you can uncover that light covering and come out. And when the fire is good, you can cook pretty fast, isn't it? When only smoke is there, you can't cook. No? So, Ahtam Jnanino Nitya Vairina, and how big this enemy is? Nitya, eternal enemy. Now, this eternal refers to our conditioning eternity, not talking about the Vaikuntha Loka. Yeah? So, when we are in the material world, it's the eternal enemy. Now, you see, in this world, we may have our neighbor as our enemy, some friend as an enemy. So, our enmity will only last for this life. Maximum, I'm talking, maximum. Enemy will kill you, or you will kill your enemy, and that life and enmity is finished. When Ravan was dead, Ram said to Vibhishan, you should do the antyeshti of Ravan. So Vibhishan said, I will not do. He was a very, very impure person. He was so lusty. He has taken my mother and did so many other wrong things. So Lord Ram said, as soon as the person is finished, all his bad karma and all the enmity should finish right there. So you as a brother of Ravan should go and do the final antyeshti of Ravan. He's gone. His body is finished now. Now you should not feel any inimical towards that person, because that person is gone. Now if you're still holding grudges against that person, actually you're holding, as per Shastra, a burning coal in your hand. When you're angry, you're holding a burning coal in your hand, and you're waiting. As soon as this person comes out, I'll throw this burning coal. And that person may never come out, you're still holding. What's happening? You're burning your own hand. So if you're having grudges for a long period of time or short term, you're actually burning yourself. Yes, so you should try not to have it. Now it's difficult, but we should try not to have the grudges. Forgive. Bhakti Shastri said very nicely, forget and forgive. We should forget what we have done good to others, and we should forgive what others have done bad to us. But Maharaj said we do other. We forget what others have done good to us. He may have done a lot of good for me, but I forget. And I forgive. Yes. And we go other way. Generally speaking, we go other way. We forgive ourselves what bad I have done. It's okay. I'm just a human being. But we never forget others' bad thing. It should be other way. We should always forget what good we have done to others. And we should always forgive what bad he has done to us. We should forgive. So if you are in that situation, you are pretty good. Your mind is free and light. You're not constantly, upset inside your mind. Your productivity will go down. So this enemy is how big very it is? Nitya Varina, because everybody, unless you work on it, it will be with you. Lust is with you. By leaving the body, lust does not leave you. Lust goes with you. Whatever desires, impressions you have in this life unfulfilled, it will go in next life. So we are Nitya Varina. We are dealing with this enemy which is eternal. Kama Rupena. Who is this enemy? Kama, desire, lust. In the form of Kama, He contains Dushpuren. Dushpuren means never to be satiated, never to be satisfied. The more you give to this Agni, this example in Bhagavatam of Yayati Maharaj. Yayati Maharaj, who exchanged his youth with Pururava. Yayati Maharaj, yeah. Yayati Maharaj. He was having 100 celestial years with Devyani, enjoying in a youthful of body. But he was not satisfied even after 100 years of enjoyment. And he has written a Gita, a poem in Bhagavatam. I think it's called Aila Gita, where he is explaining his heart. I tried to enjoy this world with all sorts of top sense gratification for hundreds complete celestial years. I was not satisfied. So my advice to you is, that's what Maharaj is writing. Do not give in yourself to the sense gratification, because the more you give, and Maharaj gave us an analogy, it's like you putting ghee in the fire. It says, by indulgence, our calm, our lusty desires will not be subdued. By the restriction, they will be subdued. But we think, Pune wala thinks, by indulgence, we will satisfy. If you indulge, if you smoke a cigarette, you feel like you smoke a cigarette, my desire is satisfied. But for how long? Next 10 minutes or whatever your cycle is. No? And then after 10 minutes, you'll be again agitated to smoke another cigarette. So it applies to obviously all our calm, krodh, lobh. So dushpuren, anane. Anane refers to Agni. It burns you like a fire. Suppose you are having some burning desire in your heart, and suppose you can't fulfill it. Unsatisfied, huh? Agni. So this kama is referred to as Agni, as fire in the heart. And I was listening a lecture, so I'm quoting it from a lecture, and he heard this. Even normal world accepts calm, accepts lust as Agni. And this Prabhu gave an example of a movie, Hindi movie song, Sawan jo aag lagaye, use kaun bujaye. So, Sawan jo aag lagaye, use kaun bujaye. So, saying even movies accept this calm is like Agni. Huh? Not only Shastra. So, Agni, what Agni's nature is, it burns. It burns. But what their interpretation is, Sawan jo aag lagaye, use kaun bujaye. By indulgence, my aag will be satisfied. This Agni, this craving will be satisfied. But what Shastra is saying, by indulgence, it will not be satisfied. By restricting, it will be satisfied. So there's a difference. But the starting point, they have actually taken from Shastra. It burns you like Agni. It burns you like Agni. And if you cannot fulfill, you become angry at the person who's becoming a stopper in between you and fulfilling your desire. So Shastra says, instead of getting angry at the person who's becoming an obstacle in between you and fulfillment of your desire, you should actually become angry at your lust. Why I'm being lusty for this particular object or particular person or particular position? Why I'm being so lusty about it? Huh? So you should get angry at your lust, not at the person. Usually become angry at the person. Tumne roka, I will destroy you. Whom you are destroying? If you are destroying yourself. Huh? So we have to have a broader vision. Okay, let's move forward. 340. Who has not done as yet? Now, before we start the verse, now Krishna will explain. So we have read Arjuna's question. What was the question of Arjuna? What is that force inside us? With Anishapi Vashne, Bala Adivniyoj, as it force. What was the answer of Krishna in one line? Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajogus. It's a lust only. Huh? And then he explained different variations, and he also explained different types of lust in different living entities. Now he is explaining. Now Arjun's question is, okay, now understand this is lust. This has different degrees of thickness, of covering, but it acts like an enemy, and it acts like an eternal enemy. Now, where does this enemy sit? Tell me, and I will shoot that enemy. That's what Arjun is coming down to, right? So Krishna is saying, I'll tell you where does this enemy sit. So this verse 40 is explaining where does this enemy sit. And then Krishna will say how to shoot. You can't shoot an arrow on your lust, right? So the first is describing, why you need to know where is your enemy, then only you will shoot. So first you have to identify your enemy. Oh, there's a thief in my house. Now, where is the thief? It's in the backyard, it's in your roof or wherever, right? So you go there, and then how will you attack your enemy? Step by step. First you identify, identification was given by Krishna. How strong he is given by Krishna. Degrees of strength of that thief. Now he's telling the position of the enemy. Krishna is so smart. And then he will say how to attack the enemy. Best teacher. So let's see, where does enemy sit? Rooftop or underground? Let's see.
Sorry, Prabhuji, Haribol.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhuji, can you just repeat that last, not this one, like it was the last point you said that, was it, did you mention that Prabhupada said that you should become angry at your lust? Sorry, could you just repeat that point?
So basically, we should become angry at our lusty feelings rather than becoming angry at the person who is stopping us to fulfill our lust. A simple example which comes to my mind, A girl's father may become obstacle between a actor and actresses, and the actor is very angry at the girl's father. My Sasurji is not cooperating, huh? My father-in-law is not cooperating, or many other variations can be there. So we become angry, and then we trying to destroy that obstacle so that I can gratify my senses freely. That's what the logic is. If my neighbor is not letting me do something, now neighbor may be right or wrong, that's a different story, but we become angry at the person. But we should look at ourselves. Why are we even angry at what we're trying to achieve? And how valid our anger is. Is it harmonized with Shastra? Is our Guru? Hanumanji was allowed to be angry. Actually, Krishna is telling Arjun to be angry. Arjun is not angry. Krishna is saying, no, you should be angry. Without anger, you can't fight the war. So anger also has its place. Lust also has its place. Greed also has its place. Rupa Goswami says in Nectar of Devotion, you should be greedy. But greedy for what? Becoming a devotee. Huh? The word uses lolyam api ekam mulyam. So lolya, which is greed, translated in English, api ekam mulyam. That is the only price you pay to achieve Krishna. If you're not greedy for Krishna, you will never become a devotee. We are just Solamara ho raha hai. I'm chanting 16 hours. I'm going to temple. I pay some donation. I worked in the kitchen last year. It must be. So you're not greedy for becoming a devotee. You'll never become. That's the only price you need to pay. What is that price? Greed. So everything has its place, but it has to be channelized properly. Is it okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. I think I've seen now, like you see this part of things where people become angry because their lust is not fulfilled. That's like in everyday life amongst children and spouses, even small things, if the wife is not doing something the husband doesn't like, or husband is not liking the wife, some things there. Is that the form of
yes. Children's desire is not satisfied. They become angry at the parents. So this is the way this world is, and that's why it's called Kali Yuga. We are living in an age of disagreement. Kalaha. Kali Yuga means kala. Kala means quarrel. We are quarreling, disagreeing with each other most of the time, and that's why it's difficult. It's difficult. But at the same time, Krishna has given the simplest process for this age. And that is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra.
So Prabhuji, you also mentioned, the Rupa Goswami mentioned that you be greedy for becoming a devotee. So then what if someone is greedy, not so much in that stage of becoming a devotee, but for having prasadam? Is that an initial stage?
That's fine. Prabhupada said, if you take only Krishna Prasad, you will go back to Godhead. But what happens with most of the cases, we take sometime prasad and sometime not so good quality prasad. A simple example comes to my mind: bread outside, chips outside. Ingredients are okay, that's fine. Now, not just the ingredient should be okay, where it's coming from, that source should also be okay. Huh? So many times, because we compromise on that quality of prasadam, that's why we are internally struggling with our own anarthas. If you only take prasad, it says in 7 years your body will become prasad, because you eat and then your cells take birth, new cells take birth, right? So new cells are taking birth from prasad. So if you only eat prasad, 7 years later you will become a pure devotee, and that's why many devotees do not accept prasadam from non-devotees. Although it may be vegetarian, Prabhupada did not allow normal ladies to cook for the deities. They said, Prabhupada said, you have to have Matajis or Prabhujis who are 16 rounders and they're chanting Hare Krishna, they're following it. So it has to be devotees cooking for the Lord. And then we should accept that. So even if we are not doing other things nicely, if we only accept pure Krishna Prasad, Prabhupada said, by every bite you take Krishna Prasad, you're going back to Godhead. So just one activity can take us back to Godhead, but we are not doing that correctly at this stage, many times.
So Prabhuji, if in case we are, it shouldn't happen, but so you're saying low quality prasad, so something that is packaged or something that has been in its shelf life has been, stretched. It's not in its freshness is not there. You're saying like it had to be at topmost, the fresh.
Exactly. Like ideally grown by a devotee, cooked by a devotee, offered in devotional ecstasy, and then you eat that. Then Krishna is also happy, we're also happy. So again, we should try as best as possible to avoid outside food as best as possible. Just not to make our life easy. We should not make shortcuts. That's not the point. Otherwise, you're missing the whole point. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, Akhand Rasa Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, one quick question. When the person is under the influence of lust, that person, the intelligence gets covered, and it's very hard to reason with that person. So what do you do in that situation?
Okay, let's read Krishna. What does Krishna say? Because Krishna is telling the way, so I don't want to say my words. We'll read Krishna's words. It's coming soon. So Krishna, in nutshell, is explaining us how to deal with it, with the enemy. Okay, so this verse is telling the position of the enemy, where you have to shoot the arrow. That's very important. And then we'll talk about Agni Ban, Vayu Ban, Water Ban. We'll talk about that Ban a little later. Okay, let's do verse 40. So maybe Ujjalasa Mataji, you can do verse 40 while you're on that verse.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Indriyani mano buddhir.
Indriyani mano buddhir.
Asyadhishthanam uchyate.
Asyadhisthana uchyate.
Eter vimohasyati esha.
Eter vimohayati esha.
Jnanam avritya dehinam.
Jnanam avritya dehinam.
The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him.
Thank you, Mataji. So let's start from the last one. Jnanam avritya dehinam. What does dehi refers to? Deha and dehi, the soul. So we are referring to soul. What's the nature of that soul? As per this one, jnanam. Actually, the soul is jnani. In the original position, soul is jnani. Avritya. Avritya refers to covered. But that jnana, that knowledge of the pure soul is covered. Now we know the topic of the covering is lust. Now, where does this lust fit? Indriyani. Indriyani refers to senses. Mana refers to mind. And buddhi refers to intelligence. So Krishna is telling in this particular verse, there are three places where this lust resides. First is senses, second is mind, and third is intelligence. We understand? Senses, we're talking gross senses, and mind, we are referring to our emotions, and buddhi refers to intelligence. So what's the difference between mind and intelligence? One example Prabhupada gave, many examples. One Prabhupada gave, if you're standing on the terrace of the 50-story building, you're standing on the top of the terrace, your mind says jump and your intelligence says no. That's one example. So that's a difference. Mind is immediate reaction to certain things. So it says mind does sankalpa and vikalpa. Mind only does chahiye, nahi chahiye. I want it, I don't want it. Sankalpa means yes, vikalpa means no. Mind only does these two things. Intelligence has to be counseled first before mind takes a decision. Many times, mind only takes a decision. If he has said something bad, I have to say something bad to him. And when I have to say that? Right now. And what intelligence is? Actually, just stop. Just stop. He has said bad, he has done bad. Maybe let's wait, go home, we'll think about it, and then write the email tomorrow morning. And then that may not happen. But in that emotions, if you write the email, what happens? Shootings. Or something bad may happen. So mind is very, very, immediate thing. Mind may like it or dislike it immediately. Repulsion or attraction, immediate. But intelligence should be ideally consulted. Hang on, you're feeling bad, I understand, but let's go back and consult. And then intelligence has to be strong. But many times, mind only controls everyone. In these days, whatever they like, they say, they do. But so there are three places. Adhisthana means sits. Uchyate. So it is said. Uchyate means it is said. Lust sits at three places. Indriyani, mano, buddhir. Senses, mind, and intelligence. What does it do? What does it do? Etar vimohayati. Vimohayati means bewilders. Whom does it bewilder? Jnani dehi. A knowledgeable dehi. So it does not just bewilder, oh, he's a small boy, he's not bewildered. Actually, everyone gets bewildered because everyone is a jnani. It bewilders everyone. It covers the knowledge and it bewilders it. It sits at three places. Let's go to the next one. Who has not done as yet? Ragvi Mataji, would you like to do one? With the help of Madhav? Madhav can help?
Let's try, Prabhu.
That's okay.
Tasmatvam indriyani yado
Tasmat tvam indriyan adao
niyamya bharatara sabha
niyamya bharatar shabha
papmanam prajahi hinam
papamanam prajahirenam
jnanam vijnanam nashanam
jnana vijnana nashanam. Translation.
Translation. Sorry, Prabhu.
Okay.
Of the track, sorry. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, corrupt this great symbol of sin by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization.
Thank you, Mataji. And thank you, Mother Prabhu.
Sorry, Prabhu. घर पे कोई नहीं है, so that's why I have to make him sit and listen.
Absolutely fine, Mataji. We all have kids. No problem. Kids are most welcome. He's helping. He's listening the eternal knowledge. He's agreeing to it. Even devotees are agreeing to his agreement here. So, tasmat. Tasmat refers to therefore. So now what section we are coming down to? How to deal with this enemy. So we have identified the enemy. We have identified how much harm he can do. We have identified where does it sit. Now we need to shoot at this enemy. So Krishna is telling in his next 3 verses how to deal with this lust. So let's see, tasmat. Tasmat refers to therefore. You have identified it correctly, right? You know how harmful this is. Tasmat tvam. Tvam is you. Indriyan adao. Adao Shraddha, if you remember. Adao means in the very beginning. Very, very beginning. Indriyani. What should do in the Adao in the beginning? Niyamya. Niyam, everyone knows. Niyam is regulation, restriction. So tvam, Bhartarshava, you Bhartarshava. So Rishabh, it has many meanings. One of the meanings in Shastra of Rishabh is bull. So bull is considered very strong animal, domestic animals you can say. And tiger is considered outdoor strongest animal. We have all seen somewhere that bull game where a person is trying to sit on the bull, and bull is so strong and trying to knock this person down. Bull is very strong, and bull comes in the market. It can create havoc. So now here, Arjun is called as Bhartarshava, bull in the Bharat. What does it mean? Actually, it's a respectable honor to Arjun. He's actually very, very strong. He can make havoc in the enemy. If bull thinks you are an enemy, suppose if he thinks you are wearing a red kurta or t-shirt, he will treat you like not a good friend. Then you know what will happen. You will just say Hare Krishna, then you will be sitting in the hospital for the next 3 weeks. So it's a good title for Arjuna. He can make a havoc. But your heroism is not only when you make havoc in the side of your enemies outside, but you should be strong enough to curb your lust. Then your real heroism will come out. So outside we can all be hero, but inside we are zero. No? Outside we can show we are such a nice and pure devotee and Vaishnava, 6 round mala here, big thick tilak here, very nice dhoti, 2,000 rupees dhoti. But inside, when we come home, we are doing prajalpa, we are doing criticism of other Vaishnavas or Vaishnavis. We are very weak inside. We are controlled by our lust, greed, anger, criticism, vasanas. So our heroism should not be external. It should be more internal than external. Internals are more important. So what Krishna is telling to Arjun, niyamya. Niyam is regulation. So it's not asking Arjun to stop the indriya, but it's saying niyam is as per the niyam you can do something. As per the niyam. Now, grasthas have a niyam. Brahmanas have a niyam, sannyasis have a niyam, we all follow niyam. So the important point is not saying to kill your indriya, not talking about killing the indriya or your emotions, but it's talking about niyam, bring them under the control. Control means, Mataji was cooking, say, sabji, or chawal or whatever it was. So do you put gas too high or too low? Birbal ki khichdi, pakegi hi nahi. You put gas enough to be able to cook khichdi or rice. You don't have to stop the gas. You don't have to put full on gas, then how gets fire. What you have to do? control, niyam the fire to be able to make good sabji or good halwa, whatever Prabhuji has made, for the pleasure of the Lord. So niyam is very important. With the niyam, you can make best out of the fire. You can make wonderful feast for Krishna. But if you do over niyam or under niyam, what will happen? Either you will not be able to create or you will destroy whatever is there. So tasmat. So what is Krishna's suggestion? Niyamya indriya. So indriya has to be regulated, controlled. Papamanam prajahienam jnana vigyan. Because if you do not control, what will happen? Papamanam prajahienam. It will destroy you. This is what we have seen. It will destroy you. Vinay, can you just go to the next verse, please? So Mindra Mata, you can read the 42 while Prabhuji is doing that. Indriyani paranyahu Indriyebhya param manaha Manasastu parabuddhi Ye buddhe parakasu saha. Translation.
Working senses are situated in the matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, soul, is even higher than the intelligence.
Thank you. Can you give me one of the Bhagavad Gita's? Because you need to flip to the next verse.
And this one we can possibly.
Okay, verse 42. Now he's talking about again the strategy. So we're talking the strategy here to deal with Indriyani Paranya. So we can only define a strategy once we know what sort of enemy we are dealing with, isn't it? So for an ant, you don't need to, suppose you have to kill a mouse. That's what Jiva Goswami says. You don't need to bring an elephant, imported elephant from Thailand. A mouse can be killed by any other things. Not that I'm recommending that, but just in case you have to do that. So Jiva Goswami is giving an example. I'm not giving. So a mouse can be killed by any simple thing. Rather, you have to import an elephant from somewhere. So once you understand how big or small your enemy is, then you can deal with him better. So let's see how. So what the target is to control the indriyas, right? So let's see what the position of indriyas is. Indriyani paranyahur. So indriya senses are higher than dull matter. Suppose this floor is there. This floor is a dead matter. This table is a dead matter. My hand, at the moment at least, in one sense, is live, isn't it? In one sense, although my hand itself is made up of dead matter. But at the moment, because connection with the soul is getting energy, so my hand or my other senses at the moment is higher than the dull matter. I can move. This floor can't move. So my senses, all here things, senses are higher than the dull matter. Indriyebhya paramana. Param is higher, mana means mind. Mind is higher than indriya. So we are just creating a hierarchy here. So dull matter, indriya. So there are a couple of people in this hierarchy. Let's define dull matter. Higher than dull matter is indriya. Higher than indriya is manaha. Manasastu para buddhir. What's the higher than manaha? Buddhi. Intelligence. So who should sit higher than mana? Intelligence. So man should come under the intelligence. Man should work under the intelligence for a smooth ride. For a non-smooth ride, you can go upside down. Man should be whatever man wo karo. Jo man mein aaye wo karo. How are you going to achieve anything? Man will say any nonsense. Yo buddhe partastu saha. So who is higher than para buddhi saha? Saha here refers to soul. So soul is the highest in this hierarchy. So we see dull matter on the bottommost. Higher than dull matter is senses. Higher than senses is man. Higher than man is intelligence. And higher than intelligence is soul. Because soul has all this. Let's go to the next verse and we'll come back to this one and see what's the relation and what Krishna is trying to say. So we understand the hierarchy. And let's look at the last verse of this chapter and then we will stop. Who will do this last verse? Okay, yeah. Evam buddhe param buddha sanstavya atmanatmanah jaya shatru mahabaho Kamarupam Durasadam. Translation.
Just like oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, both might become steady the mind by the vibration between the creation consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength, several enemy known as well.
Thank you, Mike. So now we understand the hierarchy. So in that hierarchy, who sits the topmost? Soul. Because it's the benefit of the soul or the distress of the soul. Benefit is you can become a devotee and go back to Godhead, or you can be distressed because if you are under the control of lust, you can be in the material world. So soul is the main entity here. The soul can go up or soul can go down. Now here saying, but thus knowing oneself to be transcendental, evam buddhe param buddhva. So with the buddhi, with your intelligence, now we cannot talk to soul, we have to talk to the intelligence. With the buddhi, you should understand the hierarchy given in the previous verse. That your soul sits the topmost. Now you remember another example which Prabhupada gives in second chapter, which is from some Upanishad. Prabhupada gives analogy of that chariot. So in the chariot, the soul is sitting as a passenger and the driver is the intelligence, the rein is the mind, and the horses are the senses. We all have seen that diagram in Bhagavad Gita. So senses, horses are going anywhere, in any direction. But who should control the horses? The rein. And who is controlling the rein? Mind is the intelligence. If the intelligence is not strong enough, if horses are too wide, they will just go in any direction. And when they go in any direction, accident will happen. And the rider or the passenger will not be able to lead to his destination. So the passenger, you sitting in an Uber, you say, take me to 180 Falcon Street. Now this takes you towards Canberra. What will happen? You have to go towards north, not south. But that's what happens. We want to go back to Godhead, but with the garb of lust, greed, and anger, we are actually going downwards. Actually, many times, if not all the times. So Krishna is saying, you should understand, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses. You understand the hierarchy? You are transcendental to that. Please understand this. Material senses, mind, and all of them. Soul is above all this. So first Krishna explained the hierarchy saying, you are beyond this. If you are beyond this, Jai Shatru Mahabhava. Jai refers to curb. Shatru means enemy. Mahabhava. You are very powerful. But again, your power should not only be shown outside, curbing your enemies. Your power should also be shown to curb your inside enemy, which is Kama Rupam Durasadam. This lust sitting inside is your eternal enemy. Conquer this lust. Now, let's go back to the verse 41. We'll just do some comparison of the resolution. You can have it in 2 tabs if possible. We'll just refer it back and forth. So what was the 41 verse? Krishna's suggestion was Niyamya Bhartarshava. Remember, Niyam is regulation. So first Krishna gives regulation. Now you can say all-time regulation is control and suppression will not work. Suppose you tell your child, a small child, 2-year or 3-year-old child, sit quiet, sit quiet, sit quiet. You look at you, and as soon as you turn around, the child will start doing his activity. Your child does that, Mataji? Sometimes. Sometimes they don't even listen that, but sometimes they may listen and they'll just smile at you. When mama is going to turn around and the child will start freely acting again. So niyam always will not work. Then mama is very intelligent. What mama does? Mama gives a very favorite toy to the child. And even when mama turns and goes to the kitchen, child is absorbed in TV or some app or something like that, isn't it? So there are 2 things. First is niyam. So this verse 41 talks about how to control the lust. Niyam ne bhartarshava. Ada, in the very beginning, control yourself. Go to 43, Prabhuji. And the second suggestion Krishna is giving. So first is saying control yourself, but he's saying control all the time will not work. So what will work? Go to the 43 way. Evam buddhe param buddhva sanstabhyat atma atmana. With your buddhi, understand your transcendental. That means my goal is not to be in the material world. My goal is to go upwards. So what I should do? In my buddhi, I should have spiritual thoughts. Spiritual thoughts is like a toy which is given by the mother to engage the kid. That's why this toy, for example, for the baby, is very important. You cannot just control the baby. So you cannot just control your mind. Suppress. From today onwards, I will be no anger, no lust, no ye, wo. just after 5 minutes. Some situation will arise which will make you upset. It happens with all of us. I thought it only happens with me. Everyone struggles with that. But at the same time, if you are sitting in a katha, for example, or doing some devotion service in the temple, will you get angry? Probably not. Probably you're just happily helping, in the kitchen or doing some other activity. So we understand the first is the control, and the second thing is fill your mind, intelligence, and senses with spiritual thoughts and spiritual activity. Then you will be able to control. Then there's no place for lust. You're sitting in Janmashtami festival in the temple. Will you have place for the anarthas in your mind at least that time? No, you're absorbed. You're looking at nice drama. You're looking at nice abhishek. You're listening katha. You're listening kirtan. Your eyes are seeing beautiful deities. You're doing some seva. You're engaged. That time there is no place for anarthas. You're just happy devotee till you come to your car. Again, tomorrow I have to go back to work. Huh? Tomorrow is Prabhupada day. Should I take a day off? Huh? You understand the point? So these anarthas will only take place in your life if you're not filling your life with spiritual thoughts, with spiritual services. So Krishna gives two layered approach. What is the first layer? Niyamya Bhartarshava. In the second approach he gives, with your buddhi, with your intelligence, engage yourself in the spiritual thoughts, spiritual activity. Then you'll be able to kama rupam. It's insatiable, it's unsatisfied, always, it's nitya varina, but you can control over. And the more spiritual you become, the better control you have. You see, sannyasis, they have no problem with the lust. They have no problem with the anger. Huh? They have done with it. Huh? They have controlled over it in this birth or previous, they have done with it. But we struggle. Huh? Why? Because we are not enough spiritual. So do not think one day I'll be able to control my lust, greed, and anger, then I'll, become a higher devotee. Actually, it's the other way. Become higher devotee. That means take more services, take more commitments, be more involved in the spirituality. Then lust, greed, anger will automatically just go off the shelf. Maharaj said, put your lust, greed, and anger in the top shelf and tell them, I'll come back. I'll come back. He says, it's very practical. Lusty, just wait. I'm coming. I'm not denying you. Greed, just wait. Anger, just wait. Leave it. You're here. You're very respectable. You're very dear to me. Just be here. And then you just say, wait, 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 wait. And when you tell your guest, wait, 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 and wait, what a guest will do, Rupa Prabhu? Chala jayega. Rupa Prabhu is a busy man. He doesn't respect me. He has no relationship with me. Whatever, he will leave. So these guests will also leave. But they will not just leave while you are looking at them. No lust, no greed, no anger. Will they leave? They will attack more. Will become more angry. Why not? Just do it right now. Open the TV. Which channel? Best movie. Huh? So, two things. So Krishna answered the question of Arjuna very nicely. He explained about the enemy, which is lust. He explained where does it sit? In the senses, in the mind, in the intelligence. And he also told the hierarchy and said, because you are the topmost, you are the soul, use your intelligence to go up, not go down. So the soul is the highmost. Huh? So first control and then engage. First restrict and then engage. That's the way we can overcome this insatiable enemy called lust. Okay, so we'll stop here. It's the end of third chapter. Sorry, I'm 7 minutes over. I thought we'll just finish the chapter. So next week, we'll do a little wrap up of the third chapter, and we'll do a little introduction of the fourth chapter, and then we'll get inside the fourth chapter. So we'll see what's the relationship between this topic and the next topic. So next topic is chapter 4, transcendental knowledge. Okay, and if you have any questions, you can ask that time. Sumit Prabhu, any announcements? Okay, yes, thank you, Prabhuji. So very quickly, Janmashtami and the festivals are coming. So we just wanted to quickly discuss what dates will be suitable for most of the devotees. So in the Janmashtami week, 21st is the Krishna Janmashtami in the temple. So what we were thinking, we can have a class midweek, Wednesday. Will that work with most of the devotees? I'm not saying with everyone because different people have different commitments, but if it works for most of us, you can say a thumb or nod your head, and that may help. So 17th, Prabhuji, if I'm not wrong, just today. 17th. Oh, thank you, Prabhuji. 17 is Wednesday on that week. So we'll have class on 14th and then 17th. Okay. 17th, 14 and 17, and then the following week, just skip that for a second. The following week, 4th September is Radha Ashtami. So Sunday we cannot have class because most of us will be in the temple. At least we should be in the temple. Midweek I'm not available. So what I was thinking, the week before we can have 2 classes if that was 24 and 28. So we are still having 1 class a week, but because Radhashtami week, otherwise we have to skip. We can't have class that week. So that's a suggestion. Prabhu will write it. If most of us are okay, I think we can work with that schedule. So I think Raghavi Mataji has put a thumb. If others can also do something like that, that will be good. It's normal. Next class is normal, 14. We're talking the week after. So Janmashtami week, 17.
First, 17. Then we 28 and 24, 28. Yes.
Okay. So if you don't remember, please don't worry. Sumitra will write it down for everyone. That's the proposal. So online classes will have Wednesday 7 to 9. Okay. Rupa Prabhu's suggestion is if someone has any issues, please let us know now. If you could raise your hand.
Prabhuji, sorry, I think that week is, might be a bit difficult for, maybe I'm not sure. I have to check. Mohit Prabhu is occupied with services the whole
Yes,
week.
no, I totally agree. I totally agree. Most of the devotees, some devotees may not be available. I understand. We just have to cover up.
So I'm not sure how that affects.
The 21st is definitely not possible. Everyone will in the temple. Okay, so we understand Mohit Prabhu and Priya Mataji may not be there. That's fine, sir. Do what you can, and obviously recordings will be coming soon after the class. Okay, I totally understand. Everyone's life is different, but we just requesting we don't want to skip the classes. So at least 1 class a week is very nice. Okay, Manmohan Prabhu, you okay with the midweek?
Yes,
yeah.
Prabhu.
Ujjwal Vasa, Mataji, Akhand Vasa Prabhu, they are going to India tomorrow or somewhere else. So have a happy, nice trip. So I'm not asking you for this question. We're just saying have a happy, safe Krishna conscious trip. We'll see you back soon.
Thank you.
Rasanand Prabhuji, you are probably here. Should be okay midweek. Okay, all thumbs up. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll, and if you can't do it for all the good reasons, we can hear it offline. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare